and I need to be humble enough to ask for help, and realize that. So again, if
Which is
I
one of your core values here. That was one of your three that you mentioned. Ask for
yeah,
help.
yeah, be humble enough. When was the last time you asked for help? You know, uh, and again, for me, for years, it was really difficult.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. I am Joel, and this is a show where we help people conquer their mountains. People call in with challenges they're facing, obstacles, things they're trying to work through in their mind, and we talk through potential steps forward and solutions. This week, I talked to a really fun guy named Jose. We had never met. It was our first conversation. The dude has crazy amounts of energy, and I love talking with him. He's currently an immigration lawyer, but he's feeling like God is calling him to shift to do maybe a little bit more ministry and share some of the message, some of what God's placed in his heart. So we talked about potential platforms for that, ways to get the word out, what would fit best with his personality. And we landed on, I think, some really practical steps forward that might be encouraging for you too. So hey, if you've got your own question, your own mountain you're trying to conquer, I would love to talk to you. If you're willing to share your story, again, I see over and over on this program that when people share their story, I get listeners write in and say, that conversation you had with so and so really encouraged me because I'm asking the same questions or struggling with the same thing. So if you're willing to share that story, go to joelmalm.com/coaching and sign up for the 30-minute time that works best for you. I'd love to talk through the challenges with you, and we'll believe that God will do some amazing things in your life. In the meantime, I really hope you enjoy this conversation with Jose. Jose, my man, how are you?
I'm doing great, Joel. It's super exciting to be here with you.
Yeah. Okay, now, how did we get connected?
Well, you know what? I can't really tell when, but I've been following you for years now. Somehow I must have come up with one of your broadcasts or something, or read one of your books, and I just, everything you do resonates with me. From like all those field trips that you organize, to Machu Picchu, and all the leadership training that you do. I mean, I just want to clone you and be like you. So basically,
So, yeah, what was the question you wrote in about? I know what it is, but I want to hear it from you.
so I want to figure out how to generate additional income streams from speaking and writing, and develop them to a
Okay.
point where I can focus on uh, leadership training and serving when I retire. You know, like
Okay.
I wanna find an exit plan, and I wanna use the time that I have to serve and to share what I've learned, and pass it on to others. So I want to see how I can get there, and I think that you could be key in that. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
What now? And you've got the added benefit you could do it in Spanish or English. That's
That's
awesome.
right. Yeah, that's something that I've always thought that was a plus, being bilingual, bicultural. Yeah, I think it's a huge thing, and I've always wanted to maximize that. And I
Yeah.
think now is a
So
perfect opportunity.
if you had to summarize what you want to talk to people about, what would you say your message is?
My message would be to never give up. First of all, there's three things that I think that are very important. First is my faith, and then passion, and then being able to be humble enough to ask for help. So those three things, I think, are key. And if I could just share some of my experiences of what I've learned over the years.
You're currently an immigration lawyer. What would you say is the crux of what you find yourself helping people with right now?
Well, right now I put people at ease, most
Okay.
of all, and give them solutions to uh, the immigration situation, basically. And I think that God has put me there with a double purpose. First, to serve others, but also to work on my character, and kind of like to sharpen certain things that he's still working on. This has showed me that sometimes I just need to slow down and trust, and
Is that just because of the bureaucracy you're dealing with? You're like, we've filled out all the papers, we made all the calls, now we wait.
there's nothing else to do but yes,
Okay.
be
How
patient.
does that tie into what you feel like you need to share with people? Because typically we've learned something and then we want to share it.
I tell my clients, listen, when you have a situation related to your immigration situation, call me, you know, because what happens today is that, people will call me and say, oh, you know, uh, I'm gonna have to leave the state. And I'm like, well, who told you that? Well, my neighbor. I'm like, well, is your neighbor an immigration attorney? No, he's a plumber. So
But he saw it
so
on Facebook, right?
yeah, but exactly. So that's what I tell. Listen, so quit watching Facebook or TikTok or YouTube or Instagram. When I have a toothache, I go to a dentist. You know, so so when I have a situation that's challenging me or that I'm having problems with, I need to go to the source and I need to be humble enough to ask for help. And realize that. So again, if
Which is one
I
of your core values here. That was one of your three that you mentioned. Ask for
yeah,
help.
yeah, be humble enough. When was the last time you asked for help? You know, uh, and again, for me, for years, it was really difficult to ask for help because you're like, well, oh, we're like grown, we're raised to be like, have all the answers, us macho men who were supposed to be like the providers and the, you know,
What changed your like? What caused you to start realizing I need to ask for some help? What was there one event, or was it just like an epiphany, or what was it?
well, I was just seeing the results and the consequences of when I was humble enough to ask for help. I understood finally that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but it's a way to stay strong enough so when the
Mm.
challenges and the difficult situations come, you can go through them.
Which that in itself requires a level of humility because you go, I don't like the consequences of some of my decisions. What
Definitely,
could have I I have a lot of people as a pastor that come up to me and tell me about all these bad decisions or all these bad things that are happening to them. And I kind of want to ask them like, did you check with anybody before you did that?
yeah,
Like, did you?
exactly.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I just invested $70,000 in this thing. I'm like, did you do some research or?
Well, in Spanish, it's like en la multitud de consejos está la sabiduría. Wisdom
Exacto,
comes,
proverbios
and I know,
in
yeah.
Solomon.
So,
Yep,
yeah.
in the
So,
multitude of counsels, there's much safety. Yep.
and again, and I think maybe when I finally, realized that is that I said, okay, well, yeah, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to have somebody
Yeah.
help you.
So if you were to take this message, like I can tell you're passionate about this ask for help message, which it's interesting. I've never heard anybody have that as their core message. Do you feel like that's a core message you'd want to share with others if you were to build out a some sort of a course on it or a book
Oh, yeah,
on it or something like
definitely.
that?
It definitely it's one of um the steps or one of the keys or one of the tools that I would like to share. I just want to put that message out there.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm my first instinct is this would be a tremendous message for college age students because their mind is still a little
Hmm.
bit moldable.
Hmm. And I
And you
think that's
go,
what I need help with to identify my niche or that because I've had in the past, I've had challenges identifying who do I want to speak to or who do I want to take the message to. And you say that youth groups and that resonates with me as well.
really? Okay.
Yeah, I was a youth leader in the past. I mean, many years ago, but I've always resonated with young people. So I feel comfortable speaking to youth, and I think in the past I've also geared my message with that in mind. I always thought, I wish somebody had told this to me when I was that age, or when I was coming up, or when I had that situation. I wish somebody would come along and share that with me. So,
Yeah.
a lot of the, this theme or this title always pops to mind. Uh, Things that they should have taught us in school, but didn't. you know, that type of stuff. I mean, algebra and chemistry, they're all nice, but I wish they would have shown me how to like do my taxes instead,
Yeah.
that
Well,
type of
and
stuff,
one of the one of the challenges I remember in school is them teaching me everything as if it was like solid fact. So that you
Hmm.
walk out thinking,
And
oh,
that's it.
I know.
It's yeah.
And then you find out later, you're like, a lot of that stuff has been debunked in the last 5 years. Like, I remember,
That's right. That's right.
Pluto's not a planet or whatever anymore.
That's
And you're
right.
like, well,
Yeah.
that was science. Right? So the asking
What
questions, I mean,
about
honestly, I
cursive?
think,
I mean, I just learned like recently that there's no more cursive. I'm like, what do you mean? I spent so much time trying to, have the perfect handwriting and got so much trouble for it, But hey,
yeah.
that's the type of stuff
Well,
that I was thinking about. Well, I'll tell you what,
and
the most practical skill I learned in school was typing, you know?
mhm.
And because it
Who
was
would have
like
known
J
it was
J
going to be
J
so
K K
valuable?
K L L L F F F D S. I mean, and today it's like, oh my God, thank you for typing
Yeah.
because, the computer, your fingers just go.
Yeah. That the I really think that's what education should be about is teaching us to ask questions. But I think it's kind of
Yeah,
gotten to they've shifted
yeah,
more to kind of this is the things you need to know to
uh,
survive. And I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
I
And
don't
just
know. Yeah.
cram them all in so they can all be, out as soon
Yeah.
as possible. But like you say, the questions, I mean, the, whoever asks the best questions is in the best position. They have the power. Knowledge is
Yeah.
power. And what better way than asking
So
questions?
if you were to start building out a speaking career, let's say you did the youth and college space, which there is a huge
Mm,
demand in colleges. For a
mhm,
while, I was speaking at chapels of Christian universities,
mhm,
and most Christian universities have a chapel every week, and they're
mhm.
looking for 40 something speakers a year. So
Wow.
that would be an interesting place to dip your toe in. One of the things I've found about building things out like this is there needs to be a tangible product. So,
Hmm.
they talk about your 80/20. Are you familiar with the Pareto principle?
Oh yeah.
20%
Yeah.
of your inputs create 80% of your
Oh, the
outputs.
results. Yeah.
Yeah, so I figured out a few years ago that what my 20% is that I have to give my best to is content creation, which is
Mm-hmm.
books, videos, etc. We're meeting because of some piece of content apparently you got of mine and you
Hmm.
connected with me.
Hmm.
So I focus on content creation as the key 20%. It gets me speaking gigs, it gets me more opportunities like this, like something you read, something I wrote or something you saw
Something
and
you said.
that's how we got
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things I think you're going to want to focus on is figuring out what is a good, I'm going to call it a product. I don't know if
Hmm.
that's the right word, but
Yeah. That's
what's
okay.
a good product for you? Would it be my product is an Instagram page where I'm targeting college students with unique questions to ask or how to prepare for what's ahead or how to avoid, wisdom in many ways is listening to watching other people's mistakes and not making them yourself. Um,
Yep.
so is it an Instagram? Is it a blog? Is it a weekly newsletter? Is it, there's going to be something you're going to want that's going to be doing work for you to get you indoors even
Hmm.
when you're not doing work.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
I've got these U version devotionals that people read around the world. And while I'm sleeping, somebody's writing me an email sometimes saying, hey, can I talk to you more about such and such a thing?
You know how you can take a Bible verse and put in a picture.
Yep.
So I've been doing that for years. Like there's like a group of people that I love and pray for and support me that I send that every day. And I've been doing it for since 2017. I mean, I just send them out. I don't expect anything, and I don't do it because I'm a good person or it's just, la palabra de Dios no regresa vacía.
For our non Spanish speakers, he just said the word of God does not return void.
And
So, yeah.
I know you speak Spanish, so that's why I freely,
Yeah,
turn into
yeah. I was
the
like, we got a lot of
Spanglish.
people that don't. They're like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
did he just say about
What
me?
was
No,
that?
it's not.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you don't, it's interesting. So it sounds like you actually enjoy maybe creating that like unique
Yeah.
content that you can send out to people. You're already doing it.
Yeah, yeah. And now, now there's a lot of other tools that are available. I mean, this app that you just sent me, I mean, I didn't even know it existed. So I want to tap into that as well. I want to use technology to our advantage, which is great, I
Yeah.
think.
That's what I'm wondering. I mean, maybe a podcast? Would that be a good way to
Oh,
start for
that
you?
that would be super interesting. And again, one of the reasons that I wanted to meet with you was to kind of like get a feel for that and how would that go and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I could see with your ask for help. So say I mean, I'm just throwing out there because I
Hmm.
can see you're passionate about the ask for help theme. So say we called, well, just say the podcast asking for help.
Hmm.
uh, and you just interview people about certain domains that you're trying to get help on. You're like, I'm trying to grow in this area. I'm trying to grow in this area. That might be a fascinating premise, and it fits right in with your theme. The key they always say is, we don't get to pick what's interesting to us. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
People have tried to get me interested in poetry. It doesn't resonate with me, man. But if you have me read if I find something about the Knights Templar, I am obsessed with the Knights Templar. I've read like 15 books about the Knights Templar, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
we don't get to decide what's interesting to us, but what you do is, I believe that what's interesting to you is something that God has placed in you, and it has
Hmm.
something to do with the message you're called to share.
Yep.
So
Yep.
there's probably, it sounds like you're a pretty curious guy. Like, why is this way? How does that work that way? It seems like you're kind of into that stuff. Um, and you're also into helping people. So that could be an interesting theme. Delve into that a little bit, like the ask for help theme. What does that look like? Um,
It's interesting that you mentioned that because my wife, she said, and I never thought of myself as a curious person, but that's how she would describe me. She said
really?
that I'm so curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We're too close to
yeah,
ourselves usually to see it. We have to have somebody else. That's why I think we figure out who we are in community, because we usually can't
yeah,
see ourselves.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We just get in the way.
So, what in terms of does a podcast sound interesting? Does writing sound
You know what?
interesting?
You know what? I tell you what. Podcast sounds very interesting. I don't know, like you say, I don't get to pick what I like. Maybe I just don't like to write, but I like to talk. I like to ask questions,
Well, you got
and
great energy, so it's going
and
to
the
come across
podcast
well
thing,
on.
yeah,
Yeah,
is
yeah. So,
interesting.
um, I could see you starting with a podcast, and the great thing is, man, the barrier to entry on podcasts is very low, so you don't have to get a lot of equipment.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
if you used this platform, we're doing this on Riverside, which is, I think there's a free version and then there's a $30 a month version. The crazy thing about the $30 a month version,
Hmm.
Riverside.fm, it actually has an AI thing that clips the videos and gives you unique clips from it. So
Mm.
if you're looking to get some stuff on social media, like this episode we're doing right here, once I
Hmm.
edit it, it'll
Hmm.
create clips for me that I can share on social media with
Cool.
stuff that it thinks is going to get the algorithm interested. So there's so many ways to do that stuff now. The
Yeah.
key, I think, you're going to want to just kind of dial in, and here's what I've found. Sometimes you just get started and then you figure out what the theme is. So this is a whole
Hmm.
new
Hmm.
format for my podcast, what I'm doing right now, and I'm already starting to see the theme emerge. Um, I, I think that the consistent thing people are asking me on this show so far, I've done about 10 interviews already. The thing people are asking is similar to what you're asking. How do I share what God has put in my heart? How do I help others with this thing that I'm passionate about? Really, a lot of what people are calling in for is what's my next step in terms of putting putting feet to this thing that's in my heart. So yours will probably do the same. Maybe you've got an idea of where you want to go with it, but I'd say just go, just start. As you do it, it'll become more clear what you're supposed to do. But they always say anything worth doing is worth doing badly at first.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm. Yeah.
you're going to start and you'll look back 5 years from now and go, wow, those first ones were horrible. But you figure it out as you go. My gut for you as a podcast would be a great place to start. I feel like the English world is kind of saturated on the podcast world, but the Spanish world is not.
Really. Okay.
Yeah. And maybe I'm wrong
And
about
well,
that.
I've always thought, and that's something that I've always, when I lived in Puerto Rico, that's one thing that I've always looked at because there was never like a Spanish version of, or it was never catered to the Spanish audience. And I said,
Yeah.
I could bridge that gap somehow.
Maybe you wanted to start it as 10 minutes of your thoughts, like a daily thought, a Monday motivation,
Mm-hmm.
um, and something focused around staying humble, asking for help,
Mm-hmm.
telling stories of, maybe even immigration stories or like that. You're like,
Yep.
this guy thought he
Yep.
had to leave the country. And you're like, why didn't you come to me, man? Like,
Exactly. This could have been
don't get your,
solved. This could have been fixed, you
yeah,
know?
don't get your legal counsel on TikTok. So there's all sorts of themes around that. And maybe the bigger theme, I don't know. That's another thing. You could look in Chat
Mm-hmm.
GPT, say, hey, I'm thinking about starting this podcast about asking for help. What are some themes I could talk about? What are the bigger themes?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the bigger theme is humility. I mean, it's kind of funny to have a podcast of how to be humble, but maybe that's what we need. I don't
Hey.
know.
Well, you know what?
So
I think that this has been a super interesting conversation, and what you're doing is great. And I was very excited to finally meet you, Joel, because like I said, for years I've been, following you, and I may not have, met you personally, but the things you were saying were making sense to me. And that is something that I want to do. Something eventually that somebody down the line, down the road can say, you know what? that that thing that you said or that thing that you wrote that really resonated with me, that made sense to me, and and I applied it, and it's made a difference in my life, and here it is. And even if
yeah,
that doesn't happen, uh just putting it out there for a possibility would be great.